It's 20 degrees outside on this January morning in Spokane, Washington, as a line forms outside the Salvation Army Community Center. Before this day is over, nearly half of those experiencing homelessness on the streets of Spokane will stand in this line and pass through these doors in search of help. This documentary is about them. It's about the event that's bringing them to the Salvation Army today. And it's about how the Spokane community is coming together to fight homelessness and to serve those experiencing it. And for our purposes, it all starts with a big, empty room. It doesn't look like much right now, just a big, empty room. But in a few hours, that'll change. Not just this room, but this entire building will be filled with 65 service providers offering free services to anyone in need. Here in this room, Catholic Charities and SNAP Housing will work with people looking for housing. Chaz healthcare workers will offer vaccinations and other free health services. Union Gospel Mission will be offering adult shelter services. Mental health providers will offer counseling and other mental health services. And this is just one room, and that's just a few of the services here. Over in the chapel area, Family Promise will work with families experiencing homelessness. Heart program workers from local school districts will work with public school students also experiencing homelessness. The Jonah Project will work with girls fleeing sex trafficking. And Spokane Community College will work with students experiencing homelessness but wanting to pursue an education. Employment pipeline workers will help people find jobs so they can work their way to a better life. But there's more. In the next big room, New Leaf Bakery volunteers will serve a free spaghetti dinner. Lawyers and legal specialists will help attendees with a variety of legal issues, including landlord-tenant issues. A food bank will provide take-home food items for attendees needing help. And down at the end of the hallway, municipal, district, and superior courts will convene a warrant fest to help attendees to quash outstanding warrants, to reschedule court dates, and help with other outstanding legal issues. There's more. There'll be free haircuts, veterinarians providing free pet care, and the Spokane Humane Society offering free pet supplies. More than 25 generous financial and in-kind sponsors will make this day possible with their donations. Even the use of this great facility for today's event will be donated by the Salvation Army. And who's coming? More than 400 people, either experiencing homelessness or living on the bubble of homelessness and trying hard to avoid it. And it's all organized by community volunteers who understand the importance of coming together as a community to address an issue like homelessness that affects all of us. This is the Spokane Homeless Connect, an annual event that embodies what it means to be a community that comes together to address and solve critical issues which affect the quality of life for everyone in the community. Why do they do that? Because at some level they understand a profound practical truth expressed by the ancient Hebrew prophet who wrote, "Seek the welfare of the city, for in its welfare you'll find your welfare." Certain truths haven't changed in the 25 centuries since those words were first penned by the prophet Jeremiah. If we want peace, health, wholeness, and welfare for ourselves and our own families, then we have to seek that same peace, health, wholeness, and welfare for others and their families. Why? Because you and I are part of a community, and our personal welfare is tied to the welfare of others. If we want to see solutions to community issues such as panhandlers on street corners, homeless individuals sleeping under bridges, homeless families sleeping in their cars, homeless school kids couch surfing with friends, homeless teens loitering around downtown businesses, sex trafficking, racial and social justice, and many more, then each of us has to become part of the solution. But who do you see as the face of homelessness? I just attended my daughter's graduation from Princeton Seminary, New Jersey. My older brother and I were at the Raleigh-Durham Airport to rent a car for the rest of my 10-day stay with family in North Carolina. As the woman behind the rental car counter tapped away on her computer to finish our paperwork, my brother told her about my work among the homeless here in Spokane. At that point, something unusual, completely unexpected happened. The lovely lady behind the rental car counter began to weep. Now, I generally don't have that effect on strangers, so I knew something special was happening. Then it came out. It seems that she had come out of an abusive marriage, and in the process, she and her son found themselves homeless for a while and forced to live in their car. Now she had recovered and was moving ahead with life, but the personal pain of that experience lay just beneath the surface of her customer service smile. I learned an important lesson that day about the face of homelessness and how we see people. My friend Mark Terrell founded Cup of Cool Water, an outreach to teens experiencing homelessness on the streets of our community. Mark once taught me a principle I'll never forget. How we see people is the beginning of how we treat people. So, how do you see the homeless of our community? Most of us have seen images on the news of homeless people sleeping on the streets, images of people lying on the sidewalk, images of others sleeping under bridges, or images of homeless camps. But when you saw those images, did you see them as people with a terminal disease? As dead men walking? Or as dead men camping? According to those working to get the chronically homeless into transitional housing, the people they work with have been homeless for an average of 11 years, and many of them will die within 3 years of getting housing. Why? Because homelessness wreaks havoc on a person's health, and the effect is cumulative over time. Homelessness is like a terminal disease that's treatable and curable if caught early, but the longer it continues untreated, the more deadly it becomes, until eventually it becomes fatal. Simply put, unresolved homelessness, like an untreated fatal disease, kills. This reality creates an urgency for solving homelessness. We as a community need to decide, and decide quickly, how many people we're willing to watch die on the streets of our city before we're willing to do what's required to solve this problem. To rescue those who are quite literally perishing before our unseeing eyes, and to prevent those living on the bubble of homelessness from joining the ranks of dead men walking. The goal of the Spokane Homeless Connect is to bring our community together to serve the most vulnerable among us, to offer the homeless and the vulnerable a safe place from the streets for a few hours, and to provide them with the services they need to eventually escape the fatal grip of homelessness. In the process, we want to change how we as a community see those struggling with homelessness, poverty, and the many associated ripple effects. As Mark Terrell would remind us all, how you and I see people is the beginning of how we treat people. So, who do you see as the face of homelessness in our community? Is it the face of the person with the backpack sleeping on the sidewalk? Or the face of the smiling lady behind the rental car counter? Is it the face of the person sleeping under a bridge? Or the face of someone like me? If you opted for the person sleeping under a bridge, you'd only be half right, because I was homeless. Following a business failure and bankruptcy in which we lost everything, my family and I were effectively homeless. By the grace of God and the help of friends and family, we didn't have to sleep in our car, but it was a life-changing experience that shaped who we are as individuals and as a family, even today. The face of homelessness in our community can look like the person sleeping on the street, or the family sleeping in their car, or the person sitting next to you in church, or a coworker at your office. Homelessness can look like me. The face of homelessness in our community may not be the face you expected. And one of the purposes of the Spokane Homeless Connect and of this documentary is to change who and what we see when it comes to homelessness in our community. Always remembering that how we see people is the beginning of how we treat people. Welcome to the Spokane Homeless Connect.